Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 134. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. Well, with summer started, today at the time of recording is my kids' last day of school. They are getting out of school in like 20 minutes. And so I thought this would be a perfect day to go ahead and share a conversation I had with Julie Redmond. And Julie's been on the podcast before. She is one of the top downloaded episodes, episode 37, Take Control of Your Time and Be a More Intentional Mom. And today we're also talking about time management and productivity, specifically about her assign a time method in order to make sure you're getting the things done that you need to, especially here in the summer months. And Julie is a twin mom, and she's, of course, the host of the Mom Made Plans podcast. And she's on a mission to make mom life feel easier by getting out of survival mode and into intentional motherhood. She fully believes no routine or system will work until you know how to work. That means using self-awareness filled strategies to become more efficient and impactful in your home. And there's several things in the show notes I want to draw your attention to. One of them is the video for the assign a time method. She also has a super fun quiz that I want you to check out. And third, I just want to mention that we have a review giveaway going on from now until June 30th. Either if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts for the show, or if you share the show, if you've done that already and left a review, you can go ahead and share. And giving away two $50 Amazon gift cards. Right now, we have 3 people who have entered, leaving a review, 1 person that has shared. So your chances are very, very good. So make sure you check out the show notes today for all the details on that. And without further ado, what do you say? Grab that notebook and pen, and let's dive into today's conversation with Julie Redmond. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life in motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. Well, hey, Julie, thank you so much for coming back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I am thrilled to talk to you today.
Yes, I love talking with you. So I'm excited to join you and your moms again today.
I know I was mentioning before we hit record that you are still in my top 10 most downloaded episodes ever. I will link it in the show notes, everyone. It's episode 37, Take Control of Your Time and Be a More Intentional Mom. And that was back in May 2023, so about a year ago. And I know, based upon that, that the moms are going to love this conversation because we're kind of talking about how we can assign a time to get more things done and more productivity tips and all the things that we love to try to get our mom lives in order. And I know that you introduced yourself last time around, but for anyone that didn't hear that conversation, can you tell us a little about you and your family and how you serve moms and what you're doing for fun nowadays, if you have any time?
Yeah, so my name is Julie Redmond, and I'm the host of the Mom Made Plans podcast, where Emily also graces my top 10 list as well. So you guys will have to listen to our conversation on the legacy of motherhood. But yeah, I have twins, boy girl twins, and they are 9. Time is flying, hitting those double digits soon. So yeah, just mom life with my husband and my kids and a new puppy and things are crazy. So I have empathy for all you toddler moms. I'm learning, relearning things of like, oh yeah, this is like a toddler. So I have fresh empathy for you guys, even though my kids are older. So yeah, that is taking up a lot of my time right now.
Yeah, puppies. I get the question often. And in school, both of my boys had to write like persuasive letters. And both of the persuasive letters, like unbeknownst to each other, 2 years apart, were asking us to get a dog. So we're
That's
gonna
funny.
wait a little bit. I keep saying like, oh, we're in a townhome. We don't really have a yard. I keep using that as an excuse. I hope that'll work
Yeah.
until they're 18 and then they're out of the house.
Yeah.
I
Keep
love
finding
dogs,
those
and
excuses.
yeah, it is a commitment. It is a commitment for sure. So we are talking about all things time today, and I think you and I and the moms that we serve, one of the things we hear the most is, I don't have time to fill in the blank, right? This kind of time scarcity mentality. And what I love is that you've been able in your podcast and kind of what you teach to be able to sort of turn that around a little bit and to look at it more through this kind of self-awareness lens, this intentional mindset, this understanding what season that you're in. And I was just curious because most of the times what we teach comes from what we learned, maybe the hard way. And, have you felt in the past, or maybe you're currently in this kind of season where you've had that time scarcity mindset, and sort of what did you do to sort of overcome that? Because I fall into it all the time. And I've heard it also called like the time trap. Like we're just like, okay, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And it's easy to get sort of in that victim mentality. So have you been in that mindset before? And if so, how do you get yourself out of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like every mom is in this all the time, and that is me included. And I feel like it's a trap. I think that's a good word for it because that's how we feel. And we get panicky because I know my like biggest thing is time. I don't want to waste time. Like if you ask, that's my trigger. I don't want to waste time, mine or anyone else's. And so I definitely get those panic moments of, yeah, like through almost every day of I'll have a moment of like, oh gosh, I'm trying to do this work project right now. My kid wants to play with me. I also need to do the dishes. And it just starts bubbling up and I'm like stressed out and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm feeling that. So big key thing is that I'm noticing that and I'm feeling it. And I'm like, okay, all right, stop for a second. What is the priority right now? Like, is this work project, like, I have to do it this moment because that's hard. I'm learning you don't want to constantly push your kids off that they want time with you. And it's like, really, in the scheme of things, that's the most important. And so, yes, there are times where there are other priorities that are time sensitive, and you literally have to be like, I'm sorry, I must finish this project and we will have our time later. That's okay. We don't need to have a super guilt trip if in the moment there really is a different priority. Um, but to be like, okay, really, all right, let me even give you 10 minutes. So like with my daughter, I'm like, okay, I can give you 10 minutes. Let's go do something. And then I do have to come back to this project and dishes are going to have to wait. It's not the end of the world. So it's just all the time, those things bubble up and it feels overwhelming. And that's where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do it all. I can't do everything. And you just have to have that moment of like, okay, let me step back out of this for a second, remove the emotions and be like, okay, what literally is most important right now and what is not the end of the world if it can wait. And so that's how I navigate through all those little moments that blip up.
Yeah, and it is constant. I feel like there's always competing priorities, like
Yeah.
constantly, from like when we wake up to when we go to bed, constantly that. And I think I recall on the episode I did on your podcast about how talking about legacy and motherhood, that at my funeral, I don't want my kids saying, I always loved it, or I always remember that mom said those three little words, just a minute, right?
Hmm.
And that's like always what I'm remembering because it's okay to have boundaries around like, okay, we don't do this right now because I do need to get dinner on the table because you have soccer practice. Like there's sometimes those things like people need to be fed. That being said, you don't always want to be pushing off your kids, like you mentioned, and it is kind of that, that delicate balance. And I'm wondering, like, if we're able to start doing that, we're figuring out, okay, what are the essential or the, urgent slash important tasks, if you're talking about like the Eisenhower matrix, um, then what does this kind of like assign a time process look like? Because you have this framework, and I'm going to be linking to the resource so that people can get it for themselves. I understand it's like a 14-minute video. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep. It's just a little video that walks you through exactly how to do it.
So if you can give us
It,
kind of like the high level, like if we're starting to notice, okay, I'm constantly having these competing things. I'm trying to pick the thing that's most urgent and important, but I want a little bit more structure around that process. How would you kind of walk us through that, especially starting from that place of awareness, which you mentioned, which I feel like is so important.
yeah, that's really the key of how to start is just to figure out what those essential things are. Because the reason we're overwhelmed and feeling like we can't do it all is that it is too much. Like it literally is too much to do. And so, like it or not, we're gonna really have to prioritize what is essential. And that's where you really come back to basics of like, okay, in a day, what are the core things that have to happen? Like people get up and need clean clothes to put on and have food to eat. Like you go way back down to the basics. And that's really where I start with the assign a time method. Yes, there's so many things to do, but let's start with I recommend like what are you stressed out about most right now? Like that might be that dishes are always in the sink or laundry is piled up everywhere or the toys are everywhere all the time. Like you're probably just like yes to all of those. But let's pick one and start there. So like for me, dishes stress me out a lot. And we don't have a dishwasher still and just yeah, future home renovation room for that. But for now, this is where we're at. So sometimes we like to live in ideal land of like eventually, but you got to be in reality. What's happening? So dishes was one thing that just are never ending. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to figure this out. And so I decided after around the after school time, like before dinner, sometimes it's around dinner, but around that window of time, that's when I'm going to deal with dishes. And so I just made that choice. And so in the morning when I'm looking and there's dishes everywhere, I have a completely different view where I'm not stressed out because I'm like, that's fine. I know when I'm dealing with it. You're assigning a time of it doesn't get to occupy space in your mind all day, stressing you out all day, every day. You know when you're handling it. And so that is the assign a time, literally, of okay, this is when I'm doing that. And do I do that 100% every day? That's it? No, I don't. There's grace for that, and different days look different, and that's okay. But on a regular basis, even if I change it and be like, okay, today I know I need to do it then, it's whatever works for you if you need a really rigid structure or just the ability to in the morning be like, okay, in today's schedule, it's going to work around this time. So I just want to say as well, because this is the self-awareness piece. Some of us like the same routine every day. Some of us need a little more flexibility and not feel so trapped by a schedule. And we're somewhere in between. I'm somewhere in between, I feel like. And even though these are really productivity hacks, I'm not like a super regimented productivity queen, you guys. Don't get the wrong impression. It's just being really intentional and knowing what's important and doing that. And so this is a sign of time. I recommend starting with one thing. Pick that one super stressful thing and assign a time of when you're going to do it and just see the difference of taking that out of your mental load all day that you can just be like, nope, that's when that's happening and already feel so much better. And then you can layer on a few other things that are stressing you out. So if it's the toys everywhere, maybe it's the bin in the living room and there's pickup time. So like there's a queue, like before nap time or after school or like after dinner, like you pick a time or a couple times a day and just everyone does a quick 20 seconds. Everyone get everything in the bin just so it's not on the floor. And you figure out systems from there for actually putting things away. That's a whole nother thing. And Emily can carry you through all that. But we it's just figuring out so you're not stressed out by your surroundings all day long. Like find little wins to make it feel easier because all of these things layer up and make that mental load overwhelming and just feed that time trap of like you just see all the issues around you all day. And so it's really empowering to just literally start picking some times to handle things and releasing it and being okay.
Yeah, for me, it's laundry. So I decided a long time ago I just wanted to do daily laundry. It doesn't always happen the same time every day. And then one of the things that I love about this method is that when you assign a time, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen at 9 o'clock on the dot, right? It could
Right.
mean that it's just like in the morning. For me, it's like when the kids get on the bus, I come back, I gather the laundry, put in the load, and then I go have my breakfast. And when it comes to sort of what you and I sort of geek out about, the habit stacking aspect of it, like when we kind of maybe have that set, like we've taken the one or two things that are really stressing us out and have created some sort of time around it. For me, let's just say like laundry and dishes, that I'm going to do laundry in the morning and I'm going to run the dishwasher after dinner. Sorry, I have a dishwasher.
It's okay. Most people do.
I know, right? But how would you recommend kind of maybe going an extra step to kind of, like you said, sort of layer on something else that naturally connects with whatever that thing is? Maybe we can use the dishes as an example. Like we're already in the kitchen and we, start the dishwasher. What's something maybe we could layer onto that that would be make sense as far as like the framework goes that you teach?
Yeah, you can certainly use that to build on. So you're getting a 2-for-1 deal. And I like to say, really, it's kind of that like me time type of things are a great habit stacker. So doing the dishes, whether you're loading or putting them away, I love to play a podcast and listen to that. Maybe for you, that's an audiobook or sometimes it's music. So just making a more mundane task more enjoyable by something that fills your cup. Maybe it's literally filling your cup with your with some coffee or a favorite drink as well, like just something that you look forward to pair that with those things is really my favorite way to do it. And then just the act of noticing and not just being in automatic mode all the time. So, like for me, the laundry is downstairs, and anytime I'm about to go downstairs, I'm like, is there any laundry? Should I take a load of laundry with me? Or for people, we have a rancher, so it's one floor, but maybe you're upstairs and your rooms are upstairs, and you see all the pictures of the stuff piled up on the steps that needs to go. Like just making a habit of any time you're about to go upstairs, like, is there anything you need to bring with you? Just like making each thing count, like for more and not just running up and because so much of our time is just wasted running around all over the place. Like, make it count. If you're going to walk somewhere, make it count. Like, maybe this comes from my root of a third floor condo and carrying groceries. Like, you make that in one trip, man, like all at once. So maybe that's where that comes from. But yeah, just make whatever you're doing count. And one of my other little mantras I'll say to myself sometimes is if it takes less than 1 minute, just do it now. So it's like you're walking by, you see trash on the floor, or something fell on the floor, and you're like rushing or doing whatever, and it's just like, you know what, just pick it up. Like it's only gonna be a few seconds. Just deal with it. Like you missed the trash can or whatever. Like it's just the little things like that that you build habits and you just question yourself. You're just paying attention and you're like, you know what? I should really just do that. And it's good training, like for our kids too, of teaching them, like seeing us be proactive and doing things like that and making things fun, like back to the self-care, like we're doing a task, so maybe they have a task that they don't love so much. And hey, like vacuuming becomes a dance party. Like, I mean, just get creative and find things to pair. And I will say, my one like caveat here is just to be careful that we don't try to multitask our life away. There's great habit stacking things like this that make it more fun. But I know for me, the need to like always be doing something productive, like having a hard time just like chilling or whatever. And my brain's always going for me. That's that's what's always going. But to just not feel like you can't just do one thing or you can't sit down, like you don't have to multitask everything. You don't have to be like super efficient, do 10 things at once with everything you do all day. So that's my only one caveat, to just be careful that you're not trying to be like, okay, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth. What else do I need to do right now? Or I'm getting dressed. What else should I be doing right now? So I don't want you to go like crazy with this of like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. Like, so that's my only thing. Just like just breathe. It's okay. It's meant to just enhance and like help you be more productive, but like in a fun way without feeling pressure that you always have to be doing 10 things at once, and you need to clear some things off your plate.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think there is a lot to be said for the single tasking and when it might make sense to enhance a mundane task with something a little bit more fun for sure. And I think another way that I kind of utilized habit stacking is kind of like building a loose rhythm or routine once I have something kind of set. So, like, if I know that I'm always putting the dishes in the dishwasher, then for me, I'm still in the kitchen. My logical thing is, oh, I'm gonna spray the countertops, and just kind of like do sort of that kitchen tidy. But then you have the loading the dishwasher as kind of like the catalyst, the first domino, right? Like
Right.
has
Yeah,
that.
I love so like if dinner is cooking now and you're kind of just waiting, now's the time to like clean out the fridge, like old food that needs to be out of the fridge, or stand there and do some meal planning while you're waiting. Like, yes, grouping similar where your brain's already in that mode. That's a great way to like categorize your habit stacking for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I've also been, as far as like assigning a time, that was kind of a revolutionary concept for me, was having a time assigned to like the random to-dos. Because a lot of times we're like, those are the things that hijack like the plans. Like, oh, well, I got to sign that form, and oh, I got to make that appointment, and being able to know, like, no, there's one point in my day where I'm going to sign all the forms and call the doctor's offices and do all the things, that has really helped my brain a lot, because then I can have those to-dos in a central location and know what I need to do on the computer or phone or whatever. Like today, I was registering the kids for VBS, and that was one of my like random to-dos, but I had sort of a time assigned, right? That I wanted to do that. Is that something that you practice in this assigned time? Just kind of like those random things that pop up, not kind of like the things that we want to be focusing on every day to keep our people alive, but more like those little things that, like I said, can kind of hijack our schedule.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I mean, I like to put things in the calendar like immediately. So if there are things, so even if it's something like that of like, oh, I need to do that, just put it on a day in the calendar. And whether you want to go specific over the time of day, but at least it's on there so it pops up. And that's really how I like to start the assign a time method is actually, it seems backwards, but we start really way back, a full year glance. And I'll share like a couple of things I always do. Like, so every year around Mother's Day, we just got through that. I hand out flowers at my church. So in my calendar, like a month before, I just pick a random day and I put order flowers. So that's not weighing on me that, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget to do that. It's in my calendar. And So yeah, if you have things that happen every year, like Bible school or sports seasons or whatever, you just put it in the calendar of like, now's going to be the time I need to be looking for those summer camps or signing up. And it just helps like take this relief off of like, you're just going through those things that, oh, like every year we want to do like some spring cleaning or just like different projects in your life or deadlines that come up. You just look at your whole calendar. It doesn't matter. You can always change the date, but you literally like, you could sit down today and just be like, okay, there's birthdays. I know I'm going to need to buy birthday presents. Let me put that in like 2 weeks before or whatever. And you literally just pick some days of those things that you know are happening, and then you don't have to worry about forgetting. It's already, that's really what this is, you guys. It's the hack to not forget and feel like you are so on top of things. Like when you sign up to do snacks for the soccer thing or whatever, put it in your calendar. Like it's already in there. You don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, is this my week? It's going to be in there. So it's just the way to feel like, man, you are crushing it because you're always remembering when really you just have the hack of putting it in your calendar.
Yeah, one of the things that I did yesterday, I was very proud of myself. I was getting some birthday things at the dollar store because my son, his birthday is today. And I have been getting cards, birthday cards for kids' birthdays. So I go to the like 8-year-old section and I take all the 8-year-old cards. So that way, whenever they have friends' birthdays coming up over the next year, that everyone's turning 8, they're just all
Yeah.
going to get the same card because they don't care, right? And,
Yeah.
then I don't have to go out. And besides, the cards are so expensive, but now luckily, I mean, the dollar store is like a lot cheaper. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to batch doing that and then I don't have to think about it. It's not that,
Love
oh,
it.
there'll be another party this weekend. Oh, I got to go get the card. So it just
Yeah.
helps alleviate some of that mental burden a little bit.
And along the lines of that, it's not necessarily assigning a time, but it's assigning the thing. So it's like if you have gifts, like even like baby showers or whatever, like go ahead. Like I have a note in my phone of like, what are my go-to gifts? So if I get an invite, so if your kids have an invite, like maybe you have like one or two ideas of like, okay, this is the go-to gift if I'm going to this type of an event.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, or even a store. Like I know if it's a kid thing, we're always going to Five Below. We're just going to go to Five Below, find what we find, and that's it. And so just finding a way to make these things easier by just like choosing the one thing, like however you're going to do it, and you don't have to think about it so much. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we're all about freeing up that extra brain power.
Yes.
We have a lot more important things to do than figure out those individual gifts and, the perfect card that makes noise and is $10 or whatever.
Right. No, thank you.
So this is really helpful, Julie. I want to encourage everyone to go to the show notes, look at the video, make sure you take copious notes. But Julie's podcast is a wealth of information about all things productivity. And so I would love it, Julie, if you could share where everyone can connect with you, because I'm sure they're going to want to learn more.
Yeah, I'd love to have you hang out over on the podcast as well. Again, that's Mom Made Plans. And really, my one thing for you guys, we're here because we're overwhelmed moms trying to make it all work. And it's just getting that initial momentum of like, where do I even begin to get my life in order? So I have a fun little 5-question quiz. You can go to mommadeplans.com/start and take a little quiz, and it'll tell you where to start, what to focus on, whether it's your crazy cluttered house or your time management and productivity or wherever you need to start. And yeah, gives you that momentum where you can take that off your mental load as well. You have a direction to go in. So mommadeplans.com/start. I'd love to have you guys over there.
Awesome. Well, I will link to that in the show notes. And thank you so much, Julie, for coming back on the show. It's just always great chatting with you and really appreciate you taking the time and blessing our overwhelmed mama friends.
Yes, thank you so much, Emily.
If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact. But 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.